Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It is Tim here. It's 1:24. The market's just closed. I want to spend a minute and let's really look at December corn. I know that's got everybody nerved up, right? We've been looking at this 550 area as a critical pivot point, and we've said, hey, between 550, 560, up in this range is where we want to be really vigilant to make sure that we lift hedges and things like that. I want to get a little bit deeper into this here, and I want to spend a minute, and I'm going to draw lots of lines on this chart for you, okay? It's going to be, it's going to, bear with me here a minute, because it's going to put so many lines on here, it's going to seem convoluted, but then at the end, I think it'll all make sense. So let's start back here with the contract high, and what I want to do is put a trend line up onto here, and then I want to connect it to this point right here. Okay, so there is a downtrend line, and that has held all the way since last April. Okay, so it's been more than 12 months. Now, if we go ahead and put in a trend channel on this latest point where this trend line falls in line with all of these intermediate points right in here, and then we snap a trend line to the lowest point in between the top two lines, okay? Now we've got a trend channel that we fell out the back of. What this did was confirm that this downtrend had really accelerated. So at that point, everything subsequent here we viewed as counter trend price action. And now we have two downtrend lines. We have this base channel. Now I want to put one more setup here to view this sideways action or this choppy action from the low and show you that it's contained within these parallel lines, which is indicative of counter trend price action. You can also see that this is also confirmed that the strength in December corn was not really confirmed by RSI and Force Index because we haven't met higher levels. So our argument during this whole counter trend rally here has been that this has not been confirmed by overwhelming momentum, and we still believe that. And what we also believe is that we've got a counter trend move coming right up into critical points of resistance, and we're also in the span and travel of this prior natural chart resistance right here. Okay, we would call this a wave 4. So a lot of times a counter trend move will come up into this range and then stall out. So if I put a had to put a point on here as to where this market would turn around, it would be somewhere right in this region right here, okay? So we want to keep a really close eye on these two trend lines. I don't really necessarily care about this one, but we want to keep an eye on this one, and if this region of pricing right in here gives way on a closing basis, then that's where we would look to say, hey, maybe something definitive has happened here and we're changing the trend. I know it's really dry, and I know that rains haven't materialized and that we haven't gotten the relief yet, but this action today wasn't overwhelmingly bullish, right? You can see the big upper shadow that it left, the small body. Now, it did not get a full reversal action. I mean, we didn't completely reverse it on the long-term, on the daily chart, but we did reverse it on the shorter-term stuff. So I think that this is likely to be our high here, and if we do eke out another one, as long as we stay below these points in time, then we're going to continue to look lower on December corn. If you're looking to speculate in December corn, this is also a really good spot to trade against because you know where you're wrong, right? All of these other ones have been pretty tough because we just didn't get quite enough strength in here in order to really push it lower. But I think we're getting to that point, and if we do end up with any kind of rain event, then this thing is going to roll over pretty quickly. So that's a lot of lines. I know that. I'm going to add a few more here because I want you to see where we are on the cloud. We poked out of it today, but we were unable to withhold it. So if we continue to break out of it, as long as we hold under this range, I'm going to continue to view that as resistance. because there's just too much up here for it to chop through. All right, so nothing is changing in our mind on corn. If you're super worried about higher prices, then the move is long calls, short futures, or sell cash, buy calls. That's the move. We've believed that for a while. I think that we're going to lose the premium on those calls, so we'll need to come out of those at some point. But the reality is that calls open up that upside if we're really worried about higher prices, but we're not there today. Okay, now let's look at soybeans. Kind of a similar analysis here. Let me clean this chart up just a little bit so you can see where we are on our trend channels. Okay, so first of all, if we come off of this line here, I can get my trend up here. If we come from this high and come lower, you can see that we've got an intact downtrend. And in fact, if we move even lower, we are still intact. And if we even come lower than that, we are still intact. So you've got three fans here, right? It kind of looks like a fan. You've got three areas of resistance that are continuing to hold. You've got natural chart resistance that is holding. And when we look at our cloud, again, we're not above it yet. So lower, we continue to look in beans. I know today's action was really, really hot, and it got scary there for a minute. But if you look at it, we just haven't done any chart damage yet. We need to get up through some of these and up on top of this cloud before we can really ignite something special, in our opinion. All right, that is 7 minutes. I really hope that that's helpful. There's a whole lot of stuff to technical analysis, and it is definitely an art, not a science, right? So you just got to keep your wits about you, keep the fundamentals in mind as you're looking at it, and try to interpret them the best that you can. But from this perspective, I think it's just simple risk reward. Short below these areas here because the reward is far more than what the risk is here because it's so identifiable. All right, there is always risk trading futures and options, and you should only do so in light of your own financial condition. Hope you guys have a great afternoon. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. See ya.